you and your team, Mike. Until the very end, you all made it look easy. The shuttle's always going to be a reflection of what a great nation can do when it dares to be bold and commits to follow through. We're not ending the journey today, Mike. We're completing a chapter of a journey that will never end. You and the thousands of men and women who gave their hearts, souls, and their lives for the cause of exploration have rewritten history. Let's light this fire one more time, Mike, and witness this great nation at its best. The crew of Atlantis is ready for launch.
Thank you, sir. We'll get you going here in a couple of minutes.
NTD, Houston flight on 212.
Go ahead, flight.
For the record, I'm go.
NTD copies, and launch director, that is our entire launch team, we are ready to proceed at this time. I copy that. Ops manager. Ops manager.
Launch director, ops manager on 212.
Yes, sir.
We discussed it with the MMT and the flight director. We are going to take a waiver to the RTLS forecast no-go based on the potential that there will be light precip if we ended up in an RTLS. They've looked at that. Chances of thunder showers are very low, and they believe that's an acceptable risk. We have plenty of energy. We only need one end of the runway on the RTLS. I think we got some sound rationale here to take that waiver on the RTLS forecast being no-go. So with that, we are clear, no working, no issues. Your go to launch.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. And Fergie, you heard those words, so we'll get you going here shortly. Good luck, guys.
Fantastic news. Thanks, Mike.
NTD, with that, you are clear to launch Atlantis. I copy that, sir. Thank you. And for our entire test team, we have 1 minute and 15 seconds of hold time remaining here at T-minus 9 minutes before we will pick up the clock. And we do have a clear to pick up the clock at 9. NTD ISL. Go ISL. Order activation complete. Copy, thank you.
This is Shuttle Launch Control, T-minus 9 minutes and holding with 30 seconds remaining in this planned built-in hold. We'll pick up the countdown in 15 seconds. Picking up in 10 seconds.
The countdown clock will resume on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark.
T-minus 9 minutes and counting.
DLS auto sequence has been initiated.
Ground launch sequencer will be checking over 1,000 parameters between now and when it hands off to Atlantis' onboard computers at T-minus 31 seconds. And from 31 seconds on, Atlantis' onboard computers will be completely in control of the countdown and for main engine start. And it will assess in the last 6.6 seconds whether the engines are up to full thrust.
TLT, OTC, connect essential buses to fuel cells per your checklist.
TLT and work. OTC, TLT, that's complete.
Copy.
In about 20 seconds, we'll be retracting the crew orbiter access arm.
DLS is go for orbiter access arm retract.
Atlantis, this is OTC. This day has been over 30 years in the making. There have been many fabulous missions throughout the years. On behalf of KSC launch teams past and present, we salute the entire astronaut corps, for their dedication, not only for our expanded knowledge of the universe, but for the improvements you have contributed to on Earth. Have an excellent mission and Godspeed.
Fantastic words, Roberta. Thank you very much. Great to your team. Thank you, sir.
It's Orbiter Test Conductor Roberta Wyrick from United Space Alliance. At T-minus 5 minutes, the pilot will be instructed to start the orbiter auxiliary power units.
JRPS OTC, start APU display recorders.
Yes, JRPS recorders are running.
PLT OTC, perform APU pre-start.
Pre-start work. OTC, PLT, 3 gray talkbacks.
Copy, 3 gray talkbacks.
Coming up on T-minus 5 minutes in 3, 2, 1, T-minus 5 minutes and counting.
Orbiter APU start.
PLT OTC, perform APU start. CDR OTC, reconfigure heaters.
That's in work.
Solid rocket booster safe and arm devices are now being armed.
OTC, PLT, 3 good APUs.
Copy, 3 good APUs.
Next milestone is a check of the orbiter's flight controls.
TLS is go for purge sequence 4.
And there will be a steering check of Atlantis's 3 main engines. Verifying now that the main engines are in their start position.
TLS is go for ET LO2 pressurization.
Starting now the retraction of the gaseous oxygen vent arm, the vent hood.
PLT OTC, clear caution warning memory, verify no unexpected errors.
Fuel cells going to internal. External tank camera being activated at this time.
OTC, PLT, no unexpected errors.
Copy that. OTC, close and lock your visors, and initiate O2 flow.
That's in work.
T-minus 2 minutes.
GLS is go for ET, LH2 pressurization.
Solid rocket booster camera is being activated. T-minus
30 seconds.
Sound suppression water system is being armed. T-minus 1 minute. But oxygen and liquid hydrogen fill and drain valves are closed. T-minus 40 seconds, handing off to Atlantis' computers at T-minus 31. T-minus 35, 33,
Clock will hold at T-minus 31 seconds due to a failure.
and we have had a failure. Grand launch sequencer
We have a problem on the GOX retract switches. NTDSP.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir, we need guys to go do the verification per the LCC, please.
All right, CMAC.
Yes, CMAC. The LCC says we need to verify using a camera, and we're positioning camera 62 right now.
Okay, let us know as soon as 62 is swung over and you can verify LCC for GVA retract, please.
And all personnel, we're holding here at 31 seconds while we get a verification that the GVA has fully retracted per our pre-plan.
This is CMAC. We verify retracted.
Okay, and you can verify that it is fully retracted per the instructions that we've been that we developed, correct?
That's correct.
All right, and SPE?
And NTD, SPE concurs. They satisfy the requirements of GSC 13 pre-plan contingency. I am go.
Okay, I copy. And launch director?
Yes, sir. I heard all that and concur. Press on.
All right, very good.
NTD, SPE.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, I need concurrence to GLS and mass to clear the hold, please.
Very good. And GLS, you have concurrence? Go.
Copy that. It's in work.
Thank you. Let us know when that's complete.
NTD, we have it in work.
All right, guidance.
And just a reminder for folks, our watch burn back hold time is 3 minutes and 16 seconds.
NTD, CTLS on 212. We're ready to go.
All right, very good. And launch director, with that cleanup, we're going to go ahead and proceed.
Yes, sir. Please do.
All right, and all personnel, we are going to pick up the clock here momentarily. And GLS, you can resume the clock on your mark.
Copy that. Countdown clock will resume on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark.
T-minus
Go for auto sequence start.
handoff to Atlantis' computers has occurred. Solid rocket booster nozzle steering check and work.
20,
Firing chain is armed.
15,
Go for main engine start. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. The final liftoff of Atlantis on the shoulders of the space shuttle. America will continue the dream.
Program, Houston.
Roger, roll, Atlantis. Houston now controlling the flight of Atlantis. The space shuttle spreads its wings one final time for the start of a sentimental journey into history. 24 seconds into the flight, roll program complete. Atlantis now heads down, wings level on the proper alignment for its 8.5-minute ride to orbit. 4.5 million pounds of hardware and humans taking aim on the International Space Station. 40 seconds into the flight, the 3 liquid fuel main engines throttling back to 72% of rated performance in the bucket, reducing stress on the shuttle as it goes transonic for the final time. Engines now revving up, standing by for the throttle up call.
Atlantis, go at throttle up, no action, DPDT.
Go with throttle up, no action on DPDT.
That call from Capcom Barry Wilmore, a transducer, instrumentation only, no action required. Atlantis now 15 miles in altitude, already 16 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 1 minute 40 seconds into the flight. Atlantis flexing its muscles one final time. Atlantis traveling almost 2,600 miles an hour, 21 miles in altitude, 24 miles downrange, standing by for solid rocket booster separation. Booster officer confirms staging a good solid rocket booster separation. Guidance now converging. The main engine steering the shuttle on a pinpoint path to its preliminary orbit. 2 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight. Atlantis already traveling 3,200 miles an hour, 35 miles in altitude, 50 miles downrange. The propulsion officer reports the orbital maneuvering system engines have ignited. Atlantis kicking on its afterburners for 1 minute, 23 seconds for the final phase of powered flight.
Atlantis, 2 engine towel.
However, Atlantis' 3 engines performing perfectly. 4 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight. Atlantis currently traveling 5,500 miles an hour, 62 miles in altitude, almost 200 miles downrange. 4 minutes of powered flight remaining. Atlantis speeding straight as an arrow toward its date with the International Space Station Sunday morning. Coming up on the 5-minute mark. Atlantis now traveling 6,500 miles an hour, 66 miles in altitude, 250 miles downrange.
Atlantis, press to ATO.
Press to ATO.
That call indicating we can make minimal orbital targets in the event of an engine failure. All 3 engines continue to function normally. Atlantis will begin its slow roll to a heads-up position shortly. 5.5 minutes into the flight. Atlantis traveling 7,700 miles an hour, 315 miles downrange.
Atlantis, single engine, ops 3.
Single engine ops 3.
And the guidance officer here in Mission Control confirms that the computers are commanding the main engines to swivel.
Zaragoza, 104.
Single engine Zaragoza 104.
We've rolled to a heads-up position now, providing better communications to the tracking and data relay satellite system as Atlantis heads uphill. 6 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight.
Atlantis, press to MECO.
Press to MECO.
That call indicates that we can make our normal orbital cutoff targets in the event of an engine failure. However, all 3 main engines continue to function normally.
Nominal. Fergie, go the plus X, go the pitch.
Nominal shutdown plan. Go for the plus X, go for the pitch.
That call indicating that we will be in good shape for the orientation of Atlantis for external tank photography following main engine cutoff. Now 7 minutes into the flight. One minute, 20 seconds till main engine cutoff. Atlantis traveling 12,000 miles an hour. The main engines will soon be throttling down once again to limit the stress on the shuttle and its 4 crew members to that of 3 times the effective gravity. Atlantis currently traveling at a speed of more than 4 miles a second. 1 minute of powered flight remaining for Atlantis. Three good main engines, 3 good auxiliary power units, 3 good fuel cells. Approaching the 8-minute mark into the flight. Atlantis now traveling more than 15,000 miles an hour. Eight minutes, 15 seconds into the flight, standing by for main engine cutoff. That'll be followed a few seconds later by the separation of the external fuel tank. Booster officer confirms main engine cutoff. For the last time, the Space Shuttle's main engines have fallen silent as the shuttle slips into the final chapter of a storied 30-year adventure. Now standing by for external tank separation. Atlantis off the tank. Commander Chris Ferguson will be maneuvering Atlantis now into an orientation to enable Sandy Magnus to capture digital still imagery of the external fuel tank as it drifts away.
OMS 1 is not required. Your preliminary OMS 2 TIG, 37 minutes.
37 minutes, no OMS 1 required, thanks.
This is Mission Control Houston. Atlantis safely in its preliminary orbit, following a flawless launch from the Kennedy Space Center, albeit about 2.5 minutes late at 10:29 a.m. Central Time. The launch slightly delayed while engineers at the Kennedy Space Center confirmed the complete retraction of the gaseous vent arm at the launch pad. Commander Chris Ferguson is currently orienting Atlantis into the proper attitude to enable Sandy Magnus to capture digital still imagery of the external fuel tank as it drifts away for the final time. Atlantis currently in an orbit of 140 by 36 statute miles. That's the preliminary orbit that will be increased in altitude at its apogee through the firing of the orbital maneuvering system engines 26 minutes from now.
Houston, Atlantis, you ready for MTS TDC ISO?
That's affirmative, Chunky. We are ready. Chunky, also, after you get those closed, we'll be ready for APU hide shutdown. On 3-4, the only delta is tele control is not required. And when you get ready for Ops 105, we are ready as well.
We copy all. APU hide shutdown. 3-4, except tail only control not required, and we're ready for 105.
That's a good readback.
This is Mission Control Houston here in the shuttle flight control room. Post-insertion activities underway under the direction of Ascent Flight Director Richard Jones, second from your right, who presided over all of the work that was done associated with making sure that the weather was acceptable for launch from a return to launch site abort standpoint for the Spaceflight Meteorology Group. On the far right, Flight Director Tony Sacacci, he will preside over Atlantis' final entry 12 days from now. Butch Wilmore, Barry Wilmore, the Capcom, the spacecraft's communicator, in the dark shirt, and on the far left, Lee Archambault, the astronaut who was in direct contact with Deputy Chief Astronaut Rick Sturko. Sturko was assessing the weather and real-time observations as he flew the shuttle training aircraft around the vicinity of the Kennedy Space Center in the final hours prior to launch. Handshakes all around here in the shuttle flight control room. As we move into the post-insertion time frame, the initial phase of getting Atlantis set up for orbital operations, the countdown clocks here in Mission Control currently ticking backward to the first firing of the orbital maneuvering system engines in what is known as the OMS tube burn. Just a bit under 22 minutes from now, that will begin to raise the orbit, the apogee of Atlantis' orbit. Essentially, the launch itself was the first rendezvous maneuver to catch up to the International Space Station for a docking on Sunday morning. With Atlantis in the early minutes of its final flight and the final flight in the history of the shuttle program, we're going to go back down now to the Kennedy Space Center at the launch site for replays of today's launch that occurred at 10:29 a.m. Central Time.
TIG of 37:45, we like that, and no deltas to 3-6 or 3-7.
3-5 and subsequent in work.
Thanks, Atlantis. We're watching.